well, thank you for tuning in. My name is Shea Frank, and today my topic is about the Bible, but also about the Mayan calendar, because I would like to make some kind of comparisons as to certain things, where I believe the Bible and the Mayan calendar has similarities. I kind of came across this one website where they were talking about in the Bible when Jesus gets crucified, from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, and well, it doesn't say that in my Bible. In one of my Bibles it speaks about it was noon, or it was 6 a.m. in the morning, or something. But in another one of my Bibles it does actually say the 6th hour to the 9th hour he was crucified, or hung on the cross. And then I found that somebody was like in the Jewish calendar or the Jewish clock or whatever, trying to find out what is, as this was a Jewish term, the 6th hour and the 9th hour, to explain exactly when this was. And they also said something like 6 a.m. and noon and 6 p.m. and midnight, or something had to do with this 3rd, 6th, 9th, and I don't even know if they mentioned the 12th hour. Well, as I have spoken about the Mayan calendar before, and I did show my little drawing here of the 9 levels of the Mayan calendar, I thought, well, what's the 6th level of the Mayan calendar? That it's like the 6th level to the 9th level. And that was, or is, national cycle, or level as I like to call it, because they're levels as one goes up the pyramid. Each cycle is a new level, which started 3115 before Christ, which was this last cycle. This cycle of 5,125 years ended in 2011. And that puts us pretty much back to the beginning of the Jewish calendar, because the Jewish are at 5,700 and something. I was going to check that out. As I'm not sure exactly, but it brings you back to roughly about 3,115 before Christ, is give or take about 600 years after the from where the Jewish calendar is at right now. And national level or cycle is the beginning of law, as this guy Ian Lungold or something does a nice video that he also explains all the levels, and that this was the level of law, and it fits in nicely as to where the Jewish calendar is at, around about, like I said, 600 years or so. Yeah, so you might be wondering how I just jumped from Jesus hanging on the cross for 3 hours, basically, from the 6th till the 9th hour, to jumping onto the Mayan calendar. And maybe you think one has nothing to do with the other, but as I've already said, as far as the Mayans are concerned, these they're columns or pillars of the Mayans pyramid or calendar are made up of 6 nights and 7 days, and this 7th day in the Mayan calendar plays a big role. The whole of the following level can fit into 7th day of the level before. If you understand anything about the days, they're big on days, they count every single day. And that level fits exactly into the 7th day of the level before. And this is a comparison, of course, in the Bible, and the 7th day God rested. There is also a lot of other chapters in the Bible that go on about the 7th. I did mention that before. On the 7th year, you're supposed to let your slaves go free. On the 7th year, you're supposed to let your land rest, as farmers planting fields every year. And so the 7th day of national cycle, which is this national cycle that started more than 5,000 years ago, 3,115 years before Christ, the level started. The 7th day of that cycle was 1617. Yes, the 7th day of national cycle started in 1617, and that is more or less to say that then God rested. God took a break and said, I'm leaving you to your own devices. But anyway, exactly 400 years is 2017. From 1617 to 2017 is exactly 400 years. And there is a few chapters in the Bible where the 400 years are mentioned. I know Moses was 40 years in the desert with the Israelites, saving them from slavery from the Egyptians. Jesus went into the desert 40 days to fast. Muhammad was in the desert 40 days to fast. And that brings me on to a different subject, but the 2017 star sign, on the 23rd of September, this woman is taken into the desert to a place that God has prepared for her safety for 3.5 years. So the desert seems to be an important place to go, or plays a big role. But this 400 years, I wasn't too sure where does this 400 years come in? Yeah, so as I was saying about this story about the 400 years, who doesn't know it? Because I wasn't really very sure of the 400 years. It comes from Genesis 15, from 13 through 14, where God says your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own. They will be enslaved and ill-treated for 400 years. It has to do with the Abraham story about the circumcision, a covenant made with God about the circumcision. And in the other place that I found this 400 years in the Bible is in Acts 7 verse 6. It has to do with the Stephen guy. There's some Stephen guy in Acts who more or less repeats the same story. He's telling the story of Abraham, and this is where he says as well that God had said your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and ill-treated for 400 years. which brings me again to this 400 years thing with the Mayans and the national level, where basically each of these columns, days and nights in the national cycle, lasts for 394 years. And 394 years are more or less 400 years. Where maybe the Mayans and the Bible are not exact as far as dates and times and things are concerned. But the seventh day of national cycle would be this 394 years, starting in the year 1617. This is when the seventh day of national cycle started. As I said already, it brings you up to 2017 being exactly 400 years, and in the Bible it says your descendants will be treated as slaves or ill-treated for 400 years. Yeah, right, so I'd just like to go back to the 6th hour to the 9th hour, that there is a couple of chapters in the Bible where that is mentioned. As I said, John, book of John 19:14, Matthew 27, chapter 45, and Mark 15:33, and they all speak about one, that it goes dark well at these hours between 6th and 9th hour. It goes dark. This is where he was hung on the cross, and I have a program called Stellarium. Anybody that had anything to do with this 2017 23rd of September star sign in the sky, a lot of people posted up the picture out of the Stellarium program where you see these star constellations. So in Stellarium, because I have Stellarium, I found on the 28th of April in the year 32 AD, there is an actual eclipse, solar eclipse, somewhere in the world on the 28th of April. 32 AD, because supposedly we're off by 1 year as far as Jesus' birth. So in Stellarium you have to put 32 AD, though he died at 33. And April, 28th of April is, it must have been around about Easter, Passover. It's always March, April, sometime. There definitely was actually a solar eclipse. So it supposedly turned dark when they were hanging him on the cross. Yeah, so after Matthew 27:45, he goes on in verses 52 to 54 to talk about earthquakes and natural disasters, whatever. Earthquakes, and that many of God's people will be risen from the dead. And he's the only one after the 6th to the 9th hour. It goes on to say that there will be earthquakes and that many of God's people will be risen from the dead, which says more to me the end times, as the second coming of Jesus. That is judgment at the end times. They will be risen. All the dead will be risen, and there will be judgment day. You will be judged, and then the second death is then if you were judged badly. Yeah, the second death. Not funny. The second death, and that is the end. But this that many of God's people will be risen in Matthew 27:52 is for me the second coming, and this is what we're waiting for, which for me is like the Mayans' 6th to 9th level, and the ninth level was around about 2011, 2012, and after that we are living in the end times. That is what I believe. This is the end times, and that any time soon we will see what happens. Yeah, so if you're still here listening to me now, you must have found this interesting, and I would love for you to maybe give me a bit of feedback. Please feel free to leave a comment below. I look forward to you tuning in again next time. Bye.